Don't come crying to me, players. Oh, I'm rank 3 now I can't do Noxious Cloud. Can you just bend the rules? No. You should watch my videos and pay attention. But you didn't. Bad players. Bad. We do that outside. Now, aside from your school as a whole, the techniques available section is one of the single biggest indicators in terms of your role and your strengths and weaknesses, because there's many different types of techniques, but most schools, all but one I've seen so far, will have access to 3 of them, and one of them will always be rituals. Rituals they're a type of technique. They're kind of like magic, but not necessarily magic, or maybe just spiritual. They are a downtime activity. It might take minutes or even hours or sometimes days to do a ritual. And it's mostly like kind of praying, lighting some incense, that sort of thing. Maybe doing a tea ceremony or blessing a doorway to ward off evil spirits or something. Technically magic, but it's normie magic. Something that anyone can do for the most part. Every school but one I've seen has access to rituals. And like I said, it's a downtime activity, so it's not something you can just do like in the middle of combat or any other type of structured scene, typically. Next we have kata. These are combat techniques, and they deal mostly with hitting people with your sword or your bow and arrow or spear or whatever else better. Obviously, these are most important to the Bushi type characters, so if you see Bushi, obviously kata is going to be one of their techniques available. Shuji are your talking techniques, and they're most important to your core tiers. And if you look in the Shuji section, they will be separated into different subsections based off of the elements. Fire Shuji are more about using like passion, air shuji are more deception based, and so on and so forth. Kata don't really have that exact distinction, although some of them are element based, and those are the 3 most common types of techniques. I think most schools will have kata, rituals, and shuji together. The big exception would be your shugenja type schools. The shugenja, they get access to a special type of technique called Invocation, which are your typical fantasy RPG spells. And like the Shuji, these are also separated into different elemental categories. Only in this case, when you have a fire invocation, it's actually manipulating fire or producing fire in some way, not just fiery rhetoric or whatever. And because kata, rituals, and shuji are the most common types of techniques found in this section, and well, rituals are basically something everyone has, if you are Shugenja and have access to invocations, you're basically giving up access to kata or shuji. And this is important because, as I said before, you can only normally purchase these types of techniques in your techniques available section, so you're basically either a magic user / combatant because of your invocation and kata access, or you're a magic user / talker because of your invocation / shuji access. Now, you may not actually be a full-on hybrid or an even hybrid. Just having access to shuji doesn't make you part talker to a huge extent necessarily, but you are more of a talker than if you didn't have shuji entirely. Next, let's talk Kiho. Kiho are a special monk technique, which they're kind of like magic-like, but not entirely. They're not actually communicating with the kami to get access to power. It's more about using your inner energy or something. Anyway, they have like a burst effect and then an ongoing effect that goes on, and it can take up your whole turn to do it. It's kind of a cool mechanic. It can make for some interesting gameplay. Finally, we have ninjutsu, which are really weird. You almost will never find ninjutsu in the techniques available section of one of these schools. I have one in a book, not in this book, in Quartz of Stone. There is a mercenary shinobi that has full-on access to. That's pretty neat, but for the most part, no shinobi-type school will have full-on access to ninjutsu, or any school, which it wouldn't be that big a deal if they did, because there's only 4 in this book. There are 4 ninja techniques in this book. You only get access to ninja techniques through a special way, which we'll touch on in a minute. But basically, if you see a technique with a ninja star next to it, that's a ninjutsu technique, and they have special access to it. Now let's talk about the individual techniques themselves. You're going to get starting techniques, some of which there'll be like a choice involved. Here's 4 invocations, pick 2, or just here's these things, just take them. One thing you're gonna notice is that some of these, and just throughout the later part of the school, you will see a double diamond badge. This indicates that in order to have this technique, normally there are certain prerequisites that you need to make, like you need to be of the proper school rank. Like normally you have to be at least school rank 3 to have access to 3 or lower techniques, assuming it's a technique that's part of your technique available. Or sometimes you have to be of a certain clan to buy a certain technique. The Double Diamond Badge is a special permission slip and waves away those prerequisites. Now let's move on over to the curriculum. There'll be a big column split up into these ranks 1 through 6, and your first instinct might be to think, oh, this is what I have access to at rank whatever. That's not the case. In this game, when you're in a certain rank, that's not really what you have access to. You're not really getting extra special access, although in some cases you kind of are. Really, it's more, if you focus on these things within your current rank, you will level up faster. Okay, so you start at rank 1, obviously, and then you will earn experience points at the end of every session. Then you can spend those to increase your character. If you spend them on stuff within your current rank, rank 1 in this case, then you will get the full value of those points towards leveling up, because you will need 20 points to go from rank 1 to rank 2. But if you spend points outside of your rank 1 curriculum on other skills or techniques or upgrading your ring stats, your big important stats, you can do that at any time, but it's not going to help you level up as quickly, because the points you spend outside your current curriculum rank, school rank, only half of those will count towards the total you need to level up. So, because it takes 20 points spent to go from rank 1 to rank 2, if you spend all 20 points within just the rank 1 stuff there, well then you'll level up as soon as it's mathematically possible to do so. And you're now rank 2, and you have a new set of stuff that will help you level up faster if you just buy that stuff. But let's say your first 20 points, instead of buying rank 1 stuff, all you ever do is just buy the exact opposite, just stuff outside of rank 1. You level up your rings or skills or techniques that you have access to, but they're just not part of your rank 1 curriculum. Well, only half of those 20 points will go towards you leveling up, so really, you only get credit for 10 of those 20 points spent. Which means if you only buy stuff outside of your current curriculum, it's gonna take you double the amount of points spent to get the same level up. You would have to spend 40 points outside your curriculum to go from rank 1 to rank 2, because only half of those 20 points will actually count towards leveling you up to rank 2. I think most people will do sort of a mix and match. Probably most of their points will be spent within that particular rank. A few here and there will be spent outside of it, but for the most part, most people, they won't have that ridiculous extreme. Why even play that character if that's what you're going to do? But anyway, that's where most of a school being good at something comes from. It's more about encouraging you to focus in certain areas because of the way the curriculum is set up. More advantageous for you to do so, you level up faster, so you're more likely to do it, therefore you're more likely to be better at it, and less about access to better stuff. Although leveling up does give you access to better stuff. I mean, the big reason you want to level up, one of the big ones, is that every technique has certain ranks, 1 through 5, and you have to be at least of that school rank in order to purchase that technique. Another reason you want to level up is that some abilities you have will scale up in quality based off of your school rank. The higher your school rank, the better you'll do. Now, as I said, your current rank curriculum stuff, it partially gives you special access to certain things. Not always, but reasonably often, you'll get special access to a technique you normally don't have access to. Typically, it's just early access, but you will notice there'll be a double diamond badge right next to it. You essentially only have special access while you're in this current rank, and if you level up into the next rank, you will no longer have access to that special technique. Most of the time, the badge is just dealing with a level requirement, and by going up to the next rank, you don't need the badge anymore in most cases, but not in every case. The more extreme cases would be like, where is the Kaito Shrine Keeper? They're weird. They're a monk, but they don't get access to Kiho. They get access to invocations, but only specially through their curriculum do they get access to invocations. They can't buy invocations normally as part of their 3 types of techniques, but they can get access to certain invocations, mostly, almost entirely, through their curriculum. So at a certain rank, they'll get special access to some invocations or group of invocations, rank 1 air invocations, or grasp of the air dragon. And you'll see that diamond badge, which raised the requirement of needing to have invocations as your normal 3 things. So that's what that means. And it also means that if you're playing this character and you're rank 1, well, that's probably the only time you get access to Bind the Shadow. Maybe not necessarily. It very well could be. So you have to make sure, plan your character well, to buy Bind the Shadow while you're in that rank 1 curriculum of this school. Because you may never get to buy it ever again. Maybe you do, like if it's, I don't know, if it's an Earth invocation and maybe at some point you get access to Earth invocations, rank 1 to 2 when it covers it, or I don't think you do, but it's possible you may get access to it, but you might not. Some of these characters you have to plan a bit more. That's an example. But also, like, a couple of the other Phoenix characters, they get special access to Monk Kiho techniques late in their curriculum, so you might want to plan, as soon as I get to that curriculum, buy it as soon as I can before I accidentally level myself out of this curriculum rank into the next one, and now I don't have access to it. Another example of this would be the ninja techniques. The ninjutsu? There'll be a ninja star next to it, and some people will have There's only 4 of these ninja techniques, so very few will. Yeah, there's one, Caillou Engineer. At a certain point, they get access to Noxious Cloud. And it's only within that curriculum rank. Have to get it while you can. Don't come crying to me, players. Oh, I'm rank 3 now. Now I can't do Noxious Cloud. Can you just bend the rules? No. You should watch my videos and pay attention. But you didn't. Bad players. Bad. We do that outside. So that's a good rule of thumb. Check your curriculum. Look for the symbols of the different techniques that are there. If you see one that doesn't match the symbols in the one you have available, a ninja star, that's weird. A little scroll thingy, haven't seen that before, what does that mean? And that's when you know you got special access to something you normally don't have access to. And another thing you'll notice about the rank curriculum is that they're organized in a pretty consistent way. We have a skill group at the top, then 3 specific skills, which of course wouldn't be from that group, that'd be kind of redundant. We also have a technique group and then a couple specific techniques, which wouldn't be from that group, otherwise that'd be kind of redundant. And that's typically where you find the weird stuff that you don't normally have access to, are in the individual techniques. The final thing I want to touch on, one of the most important parts of the school, is your school ability. The school ability is the thing that really makes you stand out. It's a completely unique thing that only you as this school have access to and can do, and it really sort of gives you a sense of what this school is all about in general, and also what you'll be doing kind of semi-regularly. Also, it's most commonly scaling in power based off of your school rank. Not the only thing that does, and I don't think it does necessarily. Or maybe they all do have to do with your school rank. I'm not sure. I haven't read every single one. But typically, if not always, they will scale up with your school rank, just get more and more powerful. And of course, at rank 6, we have another ability, or really just feels like a better version of your current ability. Sometimes it directly interacts with your current school ability, sometimes not. Sometimes it's a very separate thing. It's usually connected to your school ability, though, at least thematically in some way. And of course, as part of your school, you'll also get some starting equipment. Sometimes there's choices to be made here. Katana and either a spear or a bow and arrow, that sort of thing. Some of them, if they're like the Mantis Clan pirates or the Tortoise Clan smugglers, they'll get special access to other equipment or other weapons, as long as it meets a certain rarity requirement, just because, you know, they have better access to trade and that sort of thing, so better access to goods. That's something to keep an eye out. That might be sort of a deciding factor. I really want to have a really specific, cool, weird, exotic weapon. Certain schools can start off with that sort of thing, but most can't, so that might be a deciding factor. And from your school, you'll get some increases to 2 different rings, or sometimes any rings of your choosing, depending on the school. But we'll cover that in the individual schools themselves. And you'll get some starting skills. Typically, if you're like a non-magic user, you'll get maybe 4 or 5, or I don't know, maybe more starting skills. Like 6 or 7 to choose from, but you have to choose 5, so it's really like choosing one that you don't want a free rank in. But if you're a magic user, because you have access to magic, you don't really focus on skills as much as a balanced thing, so you'll get like 3 free ranks out of 5 or 6 or 7, whatever it is. A bit harder choices to make there. Theology, you always want to pick theology. That helps you with magic almost always. Alright, that's it for today. I'm done with you. Bye.